I think my boyfriend is cheating on me with his cats. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 7 months, and I've noticed some weird interactions between him and his animals. As we started our relationship, I immediately noticed that he showed a lot of attention to his cats. He likes to kiss them and lie down with them the same way he would with me, and he calls them his girlfriends. We were talking on the phone one night, and he was telling me about his female cats. He has two of them. We weren't really talking all that much until he asked, "You want to know something I noticed about Jenny? She doesn't like when someone else touches her private parts, but when I do it, she doesn't mind." I was confused. I'm sure the look on my face in that moment could have told it all. Since we were on video chat, I'm pretty sure he noticed. I tried to ask him exactly what he meant, but he just disregarded me and said it didn't matter. After that, I started to notice that most times he would handle me and talk to me just like he would talk to the cats. I told him, "Stop talking to me like I'm Jenny. I don't like it. I'm not an animal." He wasn't very happy about that. I mentioned that he had two cats. The other one's name is Alexa. She's Jenny's mother, but my boyfriend doesn't really show her the same attention that he shows Jenny. Now, I know cats go into heat when they aren't spayed, so not too long ago, Jenny was in heat. During that time, she would meow at him and stick her tail up and proceed to rub her parts on his leg. He didn't seem to mind, and he didn't try to move her. He just let it happen. I know this is regular behavior for a female cat when she goes into heat, but not afterward, correct? The reason I ask is because I went over to his house after I got off work one night. I decided to cook for him and myself because DoorDash wasn't responding. As I was cooking, I heard Jenny meowing in pleasure. I stopped and listened to make sure I was hearing right. I then walked into the living room to find her rubbing her parts against him again, not just on his leg. She was sitting on his lap. Now I was enraged that he wasn't moving her or anything. He just looked at her with a little smirk. I was also a little jealous, so I pretended I'd just come out to ask him what sauce he wants with dinner. Then I walked back into the kitchen, but I wasn't ready to forget what I'd seen. At the end of May, Jenny gave birth to 5 kittens. While she was pregnant, he kept her in the basement. He didn't let her walk around that much or show any attention until she was no longer pregnant, and then he was back to showing her the same attention and love. When we would talk on the phone, he would ignore what I was saying and talk to Jenny instead. I would just hang up and go to sleep. One day, I decided to show him how he makes me feel by ignoring him and acting as if I was talking to my rabbit. He got mad so many times. When I finally started talking to him again, he stayed mad and told me to go ahead and just keep talking to bugs. So I smiled and continued doing just that. After the kittens were able to walk around and jump, he showed a lot of love to the female cats and gave them names, but not the male cats. He never spoke of them. I was getting ready for work one day, and we were on the phone. He was chilling in the room that the kittens were in, and I looked at the phone. I could see it was dark, and he was laying down. He proceeded to speak suggestively, and we basically started talking dirty, getting into real intimate details. After that was over, it got quiet. Then, out of nowhere, he yelped. He then said in the smoothest tone ever, "Stop biting my dangle." My heart dropped. Soon his phone went silent, not even a sound of static. When he would come over, I would always notice scratches on his arms or hands. Sometimes they'd be on his stomach or by his bait and tackle. When we were doing the deed one night, he kept stopping. When I asked why, he said his skin flute was burning because the cat had bitten it again. At that point, I got up, I just said, "Okay," and got dressed. What else do you do in that situation? After my boyfriend and his mom got into an argument, he asked me to keep 2 of the kittens, 1 boy and 1 girl. We were laying down in bed, and my boyfriend was cuddling me. That is, until the kittens got into bed. The boy came over to me first. The girl tried to come over as well, but my boyfriend pulled her over to him and turned over with his back towards me. Now, mind you that we were sleeping in underclothes, so we were a little exposed. So I didn't really touch the boy cat because I felt nasty. I eventually proceeded to move the kitten back onto the floor. My boyfriend, on the other hand, was doing a lot of movement, and I could see he had his flashlight on. The kitten was hissing, and I told him to stop moving so much, as I was getting annoyed and jealous because he had turned away from me. As we were getting up in the morning, he grabbed the female kitten and stood up. He started moving her back and forth against his private parts while watching himself in the mirror. I told him he was disgusting and to go take a shower before he touched me again. Am I the jerk for being jealous of the love he shows his animals? Oh, honey, that's not love. It's something, all right, but love is the wrong word entirely. Look, there's nothing wrong with loving your pets. Even the part where he called them his girlfriends is pretty standard fare for some pet lovers. But that thing in front of the mirror, the thing he said about Jenny letting him touch her in ways that other people can't, that's too much. First of all, how many people are coming over and trying to feel up his cat? He makes it sound like she's being ridden like the town bicycle. I'm not up to date on my biology, but I'd have him and those kittens take a paternity test, because something here is just wrong, and I'm really concerned about what was going on when the kitten was hissing at him in bed. No means no, buddy. A lot of commenters want this original poster to go to the police, but there really isn't enough evidence for that. It's sad to say, but she'd need to see something a lot more clearly for them to do anything. And I don't even think she should stick around that long. This OP is 19 years old. There's plenty of time to find someone less creepy. Stop making dinner for a guy who's more into his kitties than his girlfriend's... Well, YouTube won't let me make that pun, but you get the idea. A little girl said something mean to me, so I bricked her in the eye. I'm 24 years old, and I grew up in a third world country, Brazil. 2 of my cousins, both around my age, live close by. We used to ride our bikes together every weekend around the neighborhood we grew up in. We loved it. Those bike rides were some of my best childhood memories. We lived in a rich area, but we grew up poor. I don't technically know if that has any relevance to the story, or if it's worth mentioning, but it might help explain why we used to ride our bikes in our underwear. We were pretty savage kids. One day we left the neighborhood and stumbled upon another group of 3 kids. There were 2 boys and 1 girl. They were probably the same age as us. My stupid cousin stops to say hi. Once the other kids laid eyes on us, they just started laughing and mocking us, calling us underwear boys. They started saying that we were gay because we were in our undies together. Kids can be so darn cruel. And at the time, I was in shock. I was humiliated. I have no idea why I did this, nor did I mean to single any of them out, but I just looked around and saw a big brick on the road. I picked it up and prepared to throw it like a shot put competitor would, because it was too heavy for me to throw it over arm style. So instead, I shot put launched the brick right into the nose of the little girl, and it rolled into her eye. As soon as that happened, she dropped on the ground bleeding and started screaming. Everyone started yelling. We just rolled back on our bikes and pedaled as quick as we could. Once we rushed home, we hid under the bed. After about an hour, my auntie found us and interrogated us. We told her the story. She was furious, but she didn't narc. But the little girl's dad must have come out looking for us, because some 40-year-old man was knocking on every house. Luckily, he couldn't figure out where we lived. Years later, when I came back to visit my cousin, I saw this girl with an eye patch on her face. It was the same girl. She's turned into a beautiful woman. I wish I could apologize, but dang, it's just not possible. You're right, OP. Kids are cruel. So cruel, they'll just blind you in one eye and never apologize for it. Look, one of the commenters said the right thing is to leave her alone, because nothing can be done about the situation. But that's really for the girl to decide. This original poster could try to ask somebody who knows her, or even take a chance on making the apology and simply respect her boundaries if she doesn't want to talk to him. Assuming that apologizing is fruitless simply frees you from the responsibility. You get to make a show of feeling guilty and reformed without putting in any of the actual work. It's cowardly. Almost as cowardly as bricking a little girl in the eye. The whole shot put comparison almost makes it sound like he's proud of this story, like he performed some sort of Olympic feat. I'm not sure what kind of Spartan Olympics this OP has been playing in, but they've skewed his entire worldview. He even says his auntie didn't narc, as if she would have been wrong to do so. Heaven forbid some poor father should have some help paying the hospital bill for the little girl that woman's nephew just blinded. Actually, scratch that last part. Apparently, even third world countries have free healthcare. Way to go, America. Good to know I'll be buried in debt if OP ever comes stateside and thinks my daughter's insulting his tighty-whities. But hey, at least I know he'll shrug and feel halfway guilty as long as she grows up to be beautiful. Nobody cares that you think the Cyclops is hot, buddy. Stop bricking little girls in the eye. I'm not allowed to have a birthday because my family blames me for my mother's passing away. My mom passed away in childbirth when I was born. My older brothers were 6 and 8 years old at the time. They spent more or less my entire childhood mourning for her. but I was not allowed to be involved in this. My birthday was not allowed to be celebrated or even talked about under any circumstances, and I never got any presents from my family. It wasn't until I started getting older that I really understood the fact that most people had a mother. I hadn't realized that I was different, and it upset me a lot. But every time I cried about missing her, my dad would tell me that I had never met her and that I didn't deserve to miss her. Now, this is where I'm probably the jerk of this situation. This year, I turned 18, so I decided that I would have a birthday party for myself. It wasn't a big thing, just some drinks with friends, and then going to see a movie. But then I made the mistake of posting about this on social media. I was instantly flooded with messages from my family, telling me that I shouldn't celebrate my birthday. They said that all of my family was at my mom's grave, and that I should have been there. But I've been told repeatedly that her grave is a place I'm not allowed to visit. So am I the jerk? Edit. I appreciate the supportive comments, but I'm confused about why my dad is being compared to someone from Game of Thrones. I had to include that edit because it's the one part of this story that makes me smile. But the fact that this OP is being treated like a real-life Tyrion Lannister is disgusting. The whole point of that show was that only a truly evil family would ever treat a person so horribly for something that blatantly wasn't their fault. At least, that's what I thought. I didn't think we were supposed to expect that sort of thing could ever happen in real life. Really, he's not even allowed to go see a movie because he's supposed to spend one day a year hating himself. And that's not even the worst part. The fact that he didn't understand he didn't have a mother means that everyone was hating him without even telling him why. This OP grew up watching everybody else get to have a birthday, and nobody bothered to tell him why he was being singled out. I know that grief is hard, but that doesn't mean you can use it as an excuse to hurt somebody else. If this family hasn't changed for 18 years, I'm not sure they ever will. This original poster needs to stop worrying about their toxic hatred and start doing whatever he can to have a normal life. It's clear that his family isn't going to be any help in that regard. Entitled daughter wants me to pay for her wedding dress after destroying my wife's wedding dress. My wife made her wedding dress with her mother. It's very sentimental to her, and she was very proud of it. The dress was simple, but freaking gorgeous. She's always said that she would love for our kids to wear her dress at their own weddings. We have 3 daughters, aged 34, 30, and 25. We also have one son, aged 18. My wife made it known that the dress was not to be altered, except to be taken in or let out so that it could be kept and worn again. Our youngest daughter didn't wear it. Our daughter-in-law wore it for their reception, and our son held it up against him for some pre-wedding bridal pictures so he wasn't left out. He totally rocked it, by the way. Only our oldest daughter wore it for her actual wedding. We've offered some financial contributions to all our children, towards either school, marriage, or a down payment on a house. Our middle daughter, Olivia, has asked for help paying for her upcoming wedding. The wedding is in the beginning of August. A few months ago, Olivia asked my wife if she could use the dress for her wedding, and my wife gave her the dress so Olivia could get it fitted with plenty of time. On Tuesday, Olivia asked me to go with her to pay some vendors. One of the stops was the tailor shop, where she was meant to pay the seamstress after a final fitting. Olivia was really nervous, but I figured it was just excitement, along with the usual pre-wedding jitters. The dress Olivia came out in was not at all her mother's dress. It was a completely different dress, with parts of her mother's gown added to it. She took the straps, the sash, the train, and the embroidered top skirt and had it added to this new dress. I was befuddled for a bit, and then asked what the heck this was. Olivia's reasoning was that she was the last of our kids to get married, and there wasn't anyone else to wear it. She said she made sure to instruct they keep the original dress to be returned to her. I told her that's not at all the same, and that she knows it. The dress was never hers to do with as she wanted. I asked the seamstress for the rest of my wife's dress, and had Olivia tell my wife in person what she had done. My wife was devastated. I've since canceled the payments I made that day, and told her I won't be paying another cent to her wedding. She and her fiancé can figure it out. Our youngest daughter thinks I've gone overboard, knowing that Olivia planned her wedding with our help in mind. Without it, she can't finish paying for everything. Olivia's future in-laws also agree with that. They can't afford to help, and suggested I should pay, and that we should then just go low contact with Olivia. I've told them both that Olivia took something irreplaceable from her mother, just for the sake of her own vanity. I know we originally offered to help with the wedding, but I think Olivia's actions warrant canceling that offer. Am I the jerk? No, you're not the jerk, and it's what your youngest daughter said that should actually make that clear. Olivia planned the wedding with her parents' help in mind. In other words, she had every reason in the world to respect her parents, and she decided not to. She decided to ruin a family heirloom that her mother cared deeply about. She didn't care if her mother might want to pass it on to the grandkids as well. The only justification I can even try to come up with is that maybe Olivia didn't want to wear the dress, but still wanted to please her mother. But that doesn't work because the youngest daughter didn't wear the dress until the reception and the mother was fine with it. And if Olivia just wanted an original dress with accents that matched her mother's, she could have had the tailor mimic the original design without just cutting it up and making a Frankengown. Also, what's up with the in-laws? Sir, you should just stop talking to your daughter, but still shell out a fortune to give her what she wants. That's not how that works. You don't get rewarded for ruining a decades-old memory and hurting someone you're supposed to love. If she doesn't get the wedding she wants, that's on her. If the in-laws really want to side with Olivia on this, they can take out a loan. What do you in the comments think? Is this original poster being too harsh? Is there a way to compromise? Let us know your thoughts down below. Click one of the videos on screen right now.